Okay. We are going live on webinar. So welcome everybody. My name is Karen Huber. I'm with Home Instead Senior Care, serving Cedar Rapids area in Lynn and Benton County. I'm part of the Caregiver Wellness Day committee and welcoming you here today for our fourth program in the Caregiver Wellness Day webinar series. It's 2020, so we're doing it all in a unique way. We're joining you through the camera lens, which is a lot of fun. We've got two great speakers for you today. So we're going to start out with Lori Hogan. And let me tell you a little bit about Lori. Lori Hogan co-founded Home Instead Senior Care in 1994 with her husband, Paul. And today it is the largest senior care company in the world with over 1,200 franchises in 14 countries. Lori lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and serves on the boards of the Nebraska Family Alliance, the Home Instead Senior Care Foundation, the Home Instead Senior Care Successful Aging, Broadway Dreams, and is the chair of American Heart Association Sweetheart Program. She's a big advocate for caregivers and appreciates all that they do to enhance the lives of aging adults. Lori's also released a book called The Strength for the Moment, and she does her best to encourage and celebrate caregivers all over. So I felt it very fitting that we include Lori today since it is National Family Caregiver Month. So Lori, I'm going to turn things over to you and let you speak. Welcome.
So much, Karen. What an honor and a blessing to be here with all of you. And thank you to the Heritage Office on Aging as well. I know that you have had a partnership with them for like 13 years now, kind of producing this Caregiver Wellness Series. That is really great. Doing great work. And Karen, you are a phenomenal Home Instead franchise owner in the Cedar Rapids area. And you have such passion as you are serving seniors and their families. So thank you for all you do, Karen. Well, I believe that we can learn a lot from each other. Don't you agree? And just by sharing our caregiving experiences. And I hope that you are able to take away a few golden nuggets, something that resonates with you today in our caregiving conversation that will bless you and encourage you today. So, well, we're talking about seniors, and that is very, very timely, as the elder population will be at 83.7 million by 2050, according to the US Census Bureau. And they say that this is due to the baby boomers driving that growth. And we are definitely going to need a lot more caregivers in the future. The dictionary, as I was kind of curious as to what the definition of a caregiver was, and that is a family member or paid helper who looks after a child or elderly disabled person. And I have come to learn that caregivers definitely have just a special DNA, and that not everybody is cut out to be a caregiver. You know, it takes strength and resilience, love and compassion and patience and perseverance, and even definitely a sense of humor. Somebody who really knows a lot about caregiving was Rosalind Carter, who once was quoted as, "There are 4 types of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and then those who will need caregivers." And I think that actually that will encompass all of us at some point in time. Wouldn't you agree? And I was just wondering out there with our caregivers, are you a seasoned longtime caregiver, or are you a caregiver just beginning and just starting your journey? Well, I wanted to share a little bit about my caregiving experience, and it actually started at a younger age with my brother Jay, who has special needs. You know, my mother would have me play school with him, go over the alphabet and his 1, 2, 3s, and do little adding and subtracting and such. I used to babysit him, play lots of sports. He was interested in sports, and I was a protector of him too. One day I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he said to me, "Well, Lori, you were caregiving at an early age." And I said, "No, I wasn't. I was just being a big sister to him." And you know, that made me realize that not everybody self-identifies as a caregiver. And so it is important that we self-identify, because then we realize what our role is, even though we wear many, many hats. Our other caregiving experience was with my husband's grandmother, Grandma Manhart. She was 89 years old, and she was living down the street from Paul's family in a one-bedroom apartment. And the family started to notice that Grandma Manhart was really failing. She was getting really weak. She wasn't able to get out of her chair very easily, not eating healthy. So the family decided that they were going to gather together, all 12 brothers and sisters, great Catholic family. And they decided that Grandma Manhart was not going to go to a nursing home. And Catherine, Paul's mom, volunteered to take her up to her home, where everything was familiar in the neighborhood. And so they decided that, maybe one more year of her life, the kids would all chip in. She had daughters who were nurses who could help take her to her doctor's appointments, give her a bath, and make sure she was taking her medications. And then the grandkids, which there were 50 grandkids, they all took turns bringing meals over, and not just bringing them to her, but sitting and visiting and engaging in conversation. So therefore she was eating a little bit more. And then other great grandkids would come and walk with her a few blocks, and then pretty soon walking her to church. A little later on, she was walking herself to church. Well, what happened was she had gained so much strength that what we thought was going to be one more year of life turned into 11 more years. We got to live another decade with Grandma Manhart. It was amazing. And everybody, it seemed like it took all 50 grandkids, 12 children, 51 great grandkids to do it. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we were blessed with a big family. So Paul and I were wondering, it doesn't take a doctor or a nurse to open up a can of soup, push a vacuum cleaner, or remember to turn off a stove to help a senior remain at home. So what do other families do that don't have that luxury of maybe living near their loved one, or they don't have that many children to help care for them? So we decided that we would be extended family for others. We would do for other families what we did for Grandma Manhart. And so we decided that we would start Home Instead and help family caregivers with that support that they definitely needed. So we're assisting families and the senior loved ones in their own homes, which is so satisfying. We're helping them with light housekeeping, meal preparation, and then also taking them to their doctor's appointments, medication reminders. Oh my goodness, that is something that's really a pain point for many families, is that medication management. So, we decided that if it would work in Omaha, Nebraska, why would it not work anywhere else? Because we wanted to expand. There's a lot of seniors out there that needed that help. And we could do that through franchising and help more people that way. And just like Karen has come to join us, we were just very blessed by that. So as Karen mentioned earlier, that we have now expanded into 1,200 franchises, doing the same thing we're doing, and also in 12 countries. Because did you know that there are aging people everywhere? Yes, very true. So we are helping people around the world age in place, where 90% of all seniors want to remain, and that is at the home or wherever you call home. And so home, as we have found out through the pandemic, home is the safest place to be. And so we're excited to be able to be in the homes helping seniors. Well, I had, that has actually become our mission, is helping seniors, wanting to make that difference in the world. And I know that we have attracted many more people on that mission, which we're very thankful for. Now, I mentioned the pandemic, and boy, has that really made us all truly aware of isolation. For many of the seniors that are around the globe, they experience it on an everyday basis, pandemic or not. And now we're experiencing that isolation a bit too. And I tell you what, I didn't do so well. I'm a hugger. I love being around people. So it's been really hard for me not to be hugging and being around family. So just think about what the seniors must be feeling. So uncertain world where we have seen a lot of division lately, riots, hurricanes, fires, floods, and the worldwide pandemic. There is one thing though that is certain. And what is that? It's change. Change is inevitable, and it actually makes me think of a joke right now. I'm not very good at jokes, but this is one that I can remember. I grew up Lutheran all my life, and I've heard lots of jokes and stories about being Lutheran, most of which are true. But here's my question for you. How many Lutherans does it take to change a light bulb? None, because Lutherans don't like change, and that's true. So this reminds me of my daughter, Mikkel, and my son-in-law, John Anthony, and they have seen a lot of change and decline with his 78-year-old mother, Anne. And John Anthony is the only child in the family, and he's a long-distance caregiver. So he lives in New York, and she lives in Scotland. Yes, I have a Scottish son-in-law. It's awesome. So thousands of miles away, and they have been learning that she's not eating well. She's getting very weak. She is losing her mobility. She is very depressed because her husband passed away just a few years ago. And she was just recently diagnosed with dementia and now is having hallucinations. And to top that off with this pandemic, the travel bans. So my son-in-law and daughter, they can't even go visit her. And so it's making them just worried, sick, and they feel just helpless. But they have, through this, learned what they can be doing, and they're doing the best that they can from afar. And so John Anthony is such a good son, and calls his mom every day and checks in with her. And he also checks in with a few family members that are close by as well, some of his aunts and uncles. And they send care packages, and they use the home care tablet to stay connected with Anne. And so they're able to send her pictures of what's going on and keep her engaged with the assistance of a nurse, because now she's in a nursing home. So that's been very, very helpful. But I tell you what, and you can relate to this, it's hard to see your parents' health changing and especially declining. Socrates said that the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new. So right now, my kids are trying to accept and embrace the new norm of his mother's condition, but it's not easy. It's been, watching them go through this, it's been one of the hardest things that they've ever had to do. And especially when they are still holding on to the vibrant, funny, humorous woman that she used to be. So they're having a hard time accepting her new norm. But I want to ask you, how do you feel about change? Does that come easy for you? Are you adaptable, or is that hard? How we react to change is important. And I want to remind you to react in love and keep love in mind. And who knows that better than Mother Teresa? And she once was quoted as saying, "If you want to change the world, go home and love your family." It starts in the home. And that's exactly what you are doing, loving and caring for your family. That is awesome. I have a prayer for you right now, and I know that you're probably familiar with this, and it's the Serenity Prayer. If you'll pray along with me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. I love that prayer. So tell me, why are you a caregiver? Was it out of love and respect, a sense of duty and responsibility? Or was it to give back to a parent or grandparent who raised you? Or did you just happen to get the short end of the stick and none of your other siblings were really willing to step up? Sometimes that happens. Ooh, I can hear some resentment there too. Well, right now in the US, more than 70 million Americans are taking care of their elderly family members. Do you realize that that's 1 out of 3 adults caring for aging loved ones? So you are not alone. There are a lot of others on the caregiving journey, but every caregiving journey is unique and different. But it's just nice to know that there are many others just like you going through this together. Well, I know, as I mentioned before, that it can be very challenging navigating responsibilities and researching information in the community. Well, not long ago, well, I guess it has been 10 years ago, my husband and I wrote the book, Stages of Senior Care. And here's my PowerPoint. There we go. Stages of Senior Care, the step-by-step guide to making the best decisions for your aging loved ones. And it really helps families navigate through the caregiving process and help prepare you to make informative decisions about the elder care that would be best for you. So it's a great resource to share with your siblings, as well as get everybody on the same page. Well, I learned through many others who have gone before me in this caregiving journey that communication is the key, and especially amongst your siblings. Being on the same page with health issues, medication, doctor's appointments, your parents' sleep patterns, nutrition, daily routines, doggone it, even their BMs are important, I guess. But something that I think is interesting is boundaries. Do you need to set boundaries? And sometimes setting boundaries for care is important. I heard one caregiver tell me that she had to let her mother know that she was available on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sundays to get through her to-do list because she had to work those other days. So just save the list until then, Mom. We'll go over it. We'll get those things done on your list. Also, split up the duties of caregiving amongst your siblings. You know, as I was writing this out, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I need to follow my own advice here because my family member, my brother and sister-in-law are going through some health issues. And I need to get on the same page with my sister to say, hey, why don't you take a few days this week? I'll take a few days next week and we'll help them out and get some things done for them. So splitting up those duties is a great idea. If you have a brother who is really good with finances, let him be in charge of Mom's checkbook. Or you have a sister that likes to cook, maybe she makes most of the meals. And make a rotating calendar for the cleaning and laundry, grocery shopping. And then just hire out those services that, such as lawn care or gardening, if possible, pooling your money together if possible. So it's important, really important to communicate with one another, or sometimes that can lead to resentment and frustration. Well, let's talk about those emotions for a minute. Do you identify with some of these feelings of being resentful, overwhelmed, frustrated, lonely, depressed, guilty, confused, or maybe even honored or joyful about your caregiving experience? Well, if you identify with those, I say great. And that's exactly why I'm excited to talk to you today, because this means you're normal. You know, with caregiving, you experience all those emotions, maybe even going from one moment to the next. In all my years at Home Instead, I have been extremely blessed to meet so many fantastic caregivers who have shared their vulnerable hearts with me. Would you agree that caregiving, you're not only caring for their physical needs, but you are also caring for their emotional needs? Actually, you are caring for their entire body, mind, and spirit. I truly believe that. And so that's why I wrote the book, Strength for the Moment, as Karen had mentioned to you, back in 2012. Again, there's Strength for the Moment. I wrote it because I have collected so many great caregiving stories, and I thought it would be such an inspiration for family caregivers. And I also wanted to explore the spiritual and emotional side of caregiving. So I have included 52 caregiving stories from franchise owners, family members, friends, other business associates, and even some strangers. And I've included scripture in after each of the stories. And these are short stories because I don't have a very long attention span myself for reading. So I really love these stories because it really talks about the raw emotions that people have had during their caregiving experience and some of the God lessons that they have learned. And just by sharing their experiences, they have felt that it was cathartic and helpful and healing to them. And I'm praying that that would be helpful to you too, and use it as a resource because, you probably have so many stories of your own during your caregiving experiences that you could even write your own book. I'm sure of it. So also, I had mentioned the spiritual side of caregiving. Faith is very, very important to our seniors. Did you know that according to the Meritus poll, 89% of seniors think of their faith as being very important to them in their older years? Well, I know that faith is very, very important to me. And my higher power is the Lord. And that is where I receive much of my strength. So your faith and the power of prayer is just critical. So when you're with your loved one or you're caring for a senior, go ahead and talk about their faith and ask them questions about some of their traditions growing up. Read the Bible together and share devotions. And I have some devotions here that I absolutely love, and I read them all the time. And you're probably familiar with this one, PowerPoint here. It's Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. And it's a daily devotional, very, very short. And it also has scripture verses at the bottom that you can look up as well. But this is a great devotional that I absolutely love. And here is another one, God's Inspirational Promise book. And I gave this to my grandfather on his 92nd birthday. And I could tell that he read through this a lot because of all the pages looked warped and they're all marked up and such. But I knew that he was a man of faith and read this because God's promises are so true and right for us today. So those are a couple of devotions that I absolutely love. And, another thing that I like to do too is to listen to Christian music. I mean, how comforting is that? And you can do that while you're with your loved one, maybe making dinner together, folding laundry, playing cards. Actually, I have Christian music playing all day long, and it just really inspires me, helps to calm me and release stress. And again, praying together is really a great way to enhance that faith. But speaking of faith, I'm really curious about what the Bible says about caregiving. Well, I started to research that a little bit. And Exodus 20:12 and Ephesians 6:2 says, honor thy father and mother. Well, that's one of the commandments, the 10 commandments. And when we honor our parents, we are honoring God. It's mentioned 8 times throughout the Bible. And so when it's repeated like that, we know that it's extremely important. I also love 1 Timothy 5, verses 3-4. It says, give recognition to those widows or elderly, I put that in there, who are really in need. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, these should first learn of all to put their religion into practice for caring for their own family, and so repaying their parents and grandparents, for this is pleasing to the Lord. So what does that tell you? It is our responsibility to care for our parents and grandparents, and this pleases our Lord. And I want to encourage you because you are doing the right thing, just what you are supposed to be doing. But do you have to do it alone? No. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Paul and I remember we were reading a devotional last year around Easter time. And it was the verse about John 19, verse 26-27. And I have read this passage so many times and didn't notice it, looked at it in a different way. It's almost like it jumped out at me, and feel like our eyes were open to this scene. Picture this, when Jesus is on the cross and his arms are stretched out wide and he's speaking his last few words. And I felt like this was a beautiful act of love and caregiving that came from Jesus's lips. I'll read this. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." And then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." So from that hour on, this disciple took her into his home. Jesus was making sure his mother was being cared for in his last dying moments on the cross. He was caregiving. I just think that's so beautiful. You know, sometimes we feel that our caregiving jobs are insignificant. But I know and I truly believe that you are doing eternal work, and it has eternal value as a caregiver. So I just wanted to thank you for that. You know, Matthew 25:40 says, "What you have done for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you have done to me." So you are helping the Lord care for his aging, sick, disabled people. Again, I say thank you. Colossians 3:23. Now, this is something that has been really helpful to me. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for men. So even while you're doing the mundane chores like laundry, dishes, shopping, do it as if for the Lord. Even though it seems insignificant at the time, it pleases him. So sometimes as caregivers, we tend to doubt our abilities or feel that it's just too difficult to handle. So I feel like the more you feed your faith, the more your doubt will starve. And I'm going to say that again. The more you feed your faith, the more your doubt will starve. And Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. I think that that's really helpful to remember. Well, this verse kind of makes me think of a story that's in my book, and it's called Shower Me with Love. And Jeannie talks about the very first time that she ever had to give her mother a bath. She was a little nervous about that thought and thought, how awkward is that going to be? But she found herself just talking about the things that they would normally talk about over a cup of coffee, and that it actually seemed to put them both at ease and feel more comfortable. So after her bath, Jeannie remembered to put on her mom's favorite great smelling lotion. And just that time together just gave her such happy memories. I want to tell you or remind you that seniors yearn that touch. And especially during this COVID pandemic, they need it more than ever. My massage therapist was telling me a couple weeks ago that her clients were experiencing skin starvation. Well, what the heck is that? Well, she told me it's the lack of handshakes and hugs from family members and friends. You know, we're craving that touch, especially seniors, and it gives assurance. It shows them love. And we were all made for community with one another, not for isolation. Well, let's talk about these emotions, all right? And one emotion that I think of that's very, very common is fear. You know, we think about the fear of the unknown. You may be experiencing fear because of this pandemic or a life-threatening illness of a spouse, or fear that surrounds an unexpected diagnosis for a child or family member. News that your mother has fallen, she's broken her hip, and she might have to be put in a nursing home to recover and require moving her. And so understandably, reasons to be afraid, right? Worried and fearful. But I encourage you to turn to your faith. Psalm 121 says, I lift my eyes into the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Well, I tell you what, I think it's really, really helpful to me to write a lot of these verses on flip cards. I love this because if something really inspires you, or a famous verse, a quote, something that's been like some of the lyrics to your favorite songs, you write them down and then use a flip card. You can do this in your car. I put them in my bedroom next to my bed. Here's one that has been really helpful to me in caregiving situations or anytime. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. I remember repeating that over and over again when we were raising them. So, and then also Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Well, one thing I would love for you to do or to consider is on these flip cards, as you have them, read the scripture and put your name in it. Something like this. I know the plans I have for you, Lori. The plans to prosper you and not to harm you, Lori. Plans to give Lori a hope and a future. And what that does is it just really personalizes the scripture and lets you know God is talking right to you and to your heart. So another fear is the fear of failing. Do you get that feeling ever? I know sometimes I do. Maybe we've set our expectations too high for ourselves and we keep feeling like we're missing that mark, and you feel like maybe you're not doing enough to care for your parents. You know, sometimes we're the hardest on ourselves, aren't we? Do you ever get the shoulda, woulda, couldas? I know that I get them frequently, and maybe some regrets, and you start putting yourself down. Although those feelings are normal, they do not come from God. The evil one seeps into our thoughts and he fogs up our self-esteem and confidence. And those thoughts can be undermining and become stinking thinking. Well, let's talk about your self-talk and how important it is to feed your mind with positive thoughts, because what we think about, we bring about. So how do we turn our stinking thinking around? Well, I like to promote that positive self-talk through I am statements. I am statements or affirmations. So I don't know if when I hold this up, it's backwards. It looks backwards to me. So there you go, that way. All right, so affirmations. So if you have like low energy and you are just exhausted, doing an affirmation like I am alive and energized. All that, is that the better way? Shoot, I didn't think about that. Also, and when you have doubts about your abilities, you say, I am capable of doing anything. I am equipped for everything. These are great I am statements. If you're feeling frustrated, you can say, I am patient and kind. I love this one. I am the daughter of the King. That's a great reminder that you are his. So awesome. I tend to procrastinate sometimes. I hate to admit that about myself, but it is true at times. So my I am statement is, I am proactive. And I'm trying to be better at this, but it takes a lot of work. And so I have sticky notes put up around my bathroom mirror just to remind me to be part of the Din Din Club. Maybe that's it, Din Din Club. So what is the Din Din Club? That way? Is that right? Okay. What is the Din Din Club? It's not dinner club, unfortunately. That would be awesome, but it's called Do It Now, Do It Now. So the minute I start to procrastinate on something like calling a doctor back or so, I go, nope, do it now, do it now. And that is really, really helpful. So I want to ask you, what are you struggling with? Make it into an affirmation and then repeat it over and over to yourself, or make a sticky note and put it on your mirror. I am filled with joy. I love that one too. I am filled with joy, even though you may not be, but to say it over and over, that positive thinking. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." I love that verse, and I like to repeat that to myself as well. Well, Confucius, very wise man, he says our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in getting up every time we do. So what I have learned about fear, I have learned that the opposite of fear is trust. The opposite of fear is trust. Trust in the Lord. Put your trust in the Lord and say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That has gotten me through so many times. And just know that God is in control and nothing surprises him. What happens when you have feelings of frustration? Sometimes a good cry in the shower really helps to release those pent-up emotions and gives your soul just a really good cleansing. And sometimes I say, if I could just be more prepared, it would help lower my stress and that frustration. But I encourage you to think a few weeks ahead in 2-week increments, and maybe in visualizing your future in bite-sized, digestible chunks. That really helps to alleviate stress. Feelings of anger. Step away from your parent and count to 20. Okay, count to 30, maybe 50 before re-engaging with them. Go punch a pillow, not the wall, but just go punch a pillow. One caregiver told me that she would go into her garage and sit in her car and just scream for 30 seconds. And that just helped get everything out. And then she was able to re-engage with her parent again that she was caring for. Or also take time to breathe. Just a few minutes of breathing exercises really helps to relieve that anger and just that tension. Also, talking to a good friend. Having a safe friend to be able to vent with, so that your loved one never takes the brunt of it, but you're venting with someone else. And that is fairly cleansing. And I want to tell you, it's okay to be angry, and sometimes even angry with God. But do not stay in that state of being, because it can be a bit dangerous. Move yourself past that feeling. So another emotion that a lot of caregivers tell me that they have a problem with is guilt. Does that sound familiar to you? You may be experiencing a lot of feelings of guilt right now. Guilt because maybe you haven't been able to see your father in a nursing home for months because of this darn COVID restrictions. And also guilty because you're trying to balance work and family, and also caring for your parent. Feel as though you are not doing well at any of it. And guilty because your spouse and kids are not getting the best of you. You feel guilty because you can't get everything done. So are you trying to be Superwoman again? It sounds like it. If somebody asks you if they can help you out, do you say to them, oh no, I got this, I'm fine, I'm really good? More likely than not, if you are stressed, the person you are caring for and your family is kind of stressed out too. So let people help you. It's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. My assistant, Jenny, has broken her leg. Yeah, that's been a hard thing for me. And her, of course, she's been laid up for a while, and she has recommended a list of things that people can do, list of duties or items that a friend or neighbor can help out with. And please let people help you. For example, just have somebody run to a grocery store for you and pick up a few items. Have somebody bring a meal to you during your caregiving. Or have a person sit with your parent while you run out and run your errands. have someone just come over and be with your mom, have a conversation, play a board game together. Have someone help with your laundry. I know that's a little awkward, a little personal, but boy, would that be helpful. Or mow the yard, or have a professional come and do that for you. So have people help you. It's not a sign of weakness. I have also seen caregivers feel guilty about taking time for themselves or even time to go to church. You know, that is not a crime, that you take care of yourself and time for yourself. Actually, it's critically important that you care for yourself so that you can be a better caregiver for others. So actually take time, turn off that phone, get away from the phone, make some popcorn, get into your comfy sweats and turn on Netflix. Read a book, get a massage, meditate, go out with a friend and visit a friend. Take a bubble bath, listen to your favorite music, pour a glass of wine and relax. Make sure that you take time to recharge your batteries and have some alone time with the Lord. I might add that it's important to schedule some time for exercise too. And, you know, make sure that you make the effort to eat a little bit healthy. Very important to eat healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, guilt is an idol. Do not bow down to it any longer. Well, let's talk about education. Education is powerful. Home Instead provides lots of education for family caregivers on our website, caregiverstress.com. Actually, go to homeinstead.com and you can go to caregiverstress.com. And we have continuing education credits and online training and lots of videos that you can watch. Very helpful with your caregiving duties and responsibilities. Home Instead caregivers are standing by to assist you and your family's caregiving needs. So you can turn to your area office on aging like Heritage. There's churches, a lot of times will have voluntary groups that can come and help out with seniors. There's adult day centers. Some might not be open right yet, but that's also another resource. Caregiver support groups. We even have a Strength for the Moment prayer group that you could join on our Strength for the Moment site. Also, if you need to, seek out professional counseling. That is such a huge help if necessary. Well, I spoke of the caregiverstress.com. We actually have a really touching story on there that I've pulled off the website that I think you might be able to identify with. I am her daughter. I am her advocate. I am her driver. I am her bookkeeper. I am her housekeeper. I am her chef. Out of 5 children, I am the one. Sure, I get tired and frustrated, angry, disappointed, but when it's all said and done, she suffers more than I do. My mom is 97 years old, and I truly believe she is still here because she can live in familiar surroundings, and she has me, a daughter who truly cares about her well-being. Taking care of myself is very important also. The first thing I did was stop asking why me questions. This eliminated my frustrations. Then I stopped being angry at my siblings for not being able to do what I do. This eliminated my anger and disappointments. Pray for patience. I'm still working on that one. And I finally accepted the fact that if my mom could, she would, but she can't. Watching her age, her body change, etc., is very hard. And accepting the fact that she can no longer do what she did at a younger age can be painful. But she is still here. I was chosen to do what I am doing, even though I do not want to. I can, and I will continue until I can't or I'm no longer needed. Boy, did you hear the emotions in there? Tired, frustrated, angry, some resentment towards the siblings, doubt, love. You know, these are all very real emotions. My assistant, Jenny, when she has been at home, she had somebody come and visit her, and they gave her this book, and it is called Read This Till You Believe It. And I thought this was so beautiful. I wanted just, it hardly has any words on the page, which I like, shorter read, but anyway, I just wanted to read this to you because right now is a hard time. You don't have to love it. You don't have to do this gracefully. You don't have to find what's good at this moment. You just have to make it through. These words are here to help you get there. Sometimes you can take life a day at a time. Sometimes you can take just an hour at a time. And sometimes all you can do is this very moment, hand over hand, until the next moment is given. Be very gentle to yourself. I love this book, and it's something that maybe you know of somebody who is going through a caregiving situation or a hard time. These are a couple books that you can give them to help them through, give them encouragement. So how do we find joy in caregiving? Happiness is a choice. Okay, here's my PowerPoint again, joy. Happiness is a choice. Well, how do you do that? You start by being thankful. So what I like to do is I like to have a journal, and I think caregivers, this is a great habit to get into, is to journal your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, to get it written down. But one thing that I found is having a journal that you write down what you're thankful for. Sometimes it's hard to even think, where do I even start with that? I don't even feel thankful at this moment, but even thankful that you're alive, that your heart is beating, thankful that you have hot water, a shower, and that you even got a shower in today. That's pretty thankful. Thankful for God's forgiveness and many blessings. So I love this, and you write it down, and it's so very helpful. Remember, there is so much good that comes out of challenging times, and try to stay positive and look for the good each and every day. Progress is progress. I have just a little prayer here for you. Lord, help us to choose joy while you walk alongside of us and provide strength for each moment. I have another just quick story here because I think this is kind of important, and it's called Laughter Being a Precious Gift. And it's by Melissa. Melissa cares for her mother, and her mother continually has the grumpies. And the family soon realized that she was covering up her loneliness and frustration that she was losing her independence. And it was just slowly being taken away because of decline. And Melissa was always the jokester of the family, so nobody really ever took her that seriously. So she really struggled to find her place in the family, in her caregiving role. So what she decided to do was she could make her mother laugh. So she decided to take a bottle of wine on a Friday night over to her mom's house and ask, can we just sit and visit? So she sat there. She didn't ask her mother, anything about what she was up to, because she knew there's pretty much nothing. So she sat and just talked to her mother, told her funny things about what was going on in her life, just got her mother just laughing, big belly laughs. And she asked, and she said, my goodness, it is so wonderful to hear her mother laugh. She misses that laugh. So she asked her mother, can we do this again next week? I would love to see you again next week. And so that's what they did. Melissa shared the gift of laughter. Sometimes they say that's the best medicine because laughter releases endorphins in the brain, as well as dopamine. And laughter relieves stress, improves mood, and increases the tolerance for pain. So I encourage you to read funny stories, either by yourself or with your loved one. Watch comedies, engage with funny people. They will truly lift your spirits. And did you know that we are 30 times more likely to have a good belly laugh when we are in a social situation than when we are alone by ourselves. So it's true, it's like a natural high. So caregiving can really get stressful and heavy at times. So make humor a part of your daily routine, and just remember to laugh, and laugh often, and don't forget to give yourself grace. So caregivers, you are doing an amazing job. And how do I know that? It's because you are here today in this education session, and I just want to commend you for that. Remember, you are doing the Lord's work, and you are not doing it alone. There are many people out there who are willing to help you. Karen at Home Instead Senior Care, and then the Heritage Office on Aging, who are here to help be a reliable resource for you. So I celebrate you during this National Caregiver Week and Veterans Day coming up tomorrow, actually Caregiver Month. And I just commend you again for the care you are providing your parent, your spouse, your child. Keep it up. It is awesome. You are my heroes. And last ending prayer, may God bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and just give you peace. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Lori, for sharing. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker for the last part of this presentation today. We have Cara Iyengar, and she is the coordinator for the University of Iowa Parkinson Center of Excellence. Oh, tried to get that out correctly. I think I bubbled a little bit. But Cara, I'll go ahead and turn things over to you and let you share your story.
Great. Well, thank you, Karen, for that. And thank you, Lori, for that talk before. That was really inspiring to hear. So as Karen said, I'm Cara Iyengar. I am the social worker and also the Center of Excellence coordinator for the University of Iowa Parkinson's Foundation Center of Excellence, which is a lot of words for just saying that we are the place to go if you need care for Parkinson's disease. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk to you about what Parkinson's disease is, a little bit about our center, and then a little bit about some various resources there are in the area. So just to start off with, I think a lot of people have heard of Parkinson's disease before. I think a lot of people, the symptom that most commonly comes to mind when someone thinks of Parkinson's disease is that resting tremor. So resting tremor meaning a tremor in someone's hand or their foot or their face, or maybe in multiple places, that happens when they are at rest. And so that's kind of the main thing that people think of. But Parkinson's disease is actually much more complicated than that. Because the Parkinson's disease originates in the brain, it can affect pretty much every body symptom. So while most people with Parkinson's will have some sort of tremor, not all of them do. Other symptoms can include things as varied as constipation, to hallucinations, to falling. There are often issues with urinary retention or with loss of smell and things like that. So if you are experiencing something out of the normal for yourself, or if you're experiencing a tremor of any type, obviously go to your doctor to get that checked out. One of the reasons that we care so much about the fact that we are a center of excellence is because we are staffed by what are known as movement disorder specialists. So a lot of people who have Parkinson's disease are initially diagnosed either by a primary care doctor or possibly a general neurologist. A neurologist is a doctor who specializes in the brain, more or less, to put it kind of more simply. But a movement disorder specialist is a neurologist who has taken the extra steps of becoming specialized in movement disorders, such as Parkinson's disease. There are some others as well, such as for example, dystonia or things like that. And so what we have done in the last couple of years is we have actually been chosen by the Parkinson's Foundation for the designation of Center of Excellence, which means that in addition to providing excellent medical care through our physicians, we also provide a number of other services. So we work as what's called a multidisciplinary team. We have people on our team who are physical therapists, occupational therapists, psychiatrists, neuropsychologists, all sorts of people who all work together to provide care for a person with Parkinson's disease over the course of the disease, which, because as I mentioned before, it is a complex brain disease, requires that sort of team complex care that we are able to provide. In addition to that medical care, we are also able to help connect people to resources, to do some long-term planning. And we also partner with various organizations, including the Parkinson's Foundation and the Cedar Rapids Metro Parkinson's Association, on different activities and different educational opportunities and different ways for people to connect. So for example, we work with the Cedar Rapids Metro Parkinson's Association on support group. Prior to the COVID pandemic, we were meeting in person. We had a group in Iowa City, we had a group in Cedar Rapids, and one of the kind of silver linings of COVID is that since we've moved online, we've been able to merge those groups. And so now we meet once a month online through Zoom, just like we are now. And we have speakers, we get together. So that's been really nice. For those of you who might be interested in joining the support group, I think Karen, is it possible for you to share my email address with the group if they're interested? Okay, great. And so Karen can share that if you're interested. And then I'm just going to show you a couple of things here that we also have going on if you're interested about hearing more. So just going to share the screen here. So this is the Parkinson's Foundation website. They've really taken advantage of the opportunities offered by people being at home and getting more online. So as you see here on the screen, this is Fitness Fridays. So every Friday they offer free videos. There is a lot of good evidence that shows that exercise is really important for Parkinson's disease, and I would argue for caregivers as well. They also have a library which goes over all sorts of topics that people might experience with Parkinson's disease. They have Conversations, which is an online support group. And so you can find all this information at just Parkinson, that's Parkinson with no S, .org. And you can find that. They have actually coming up, there we go. They actually have coming up a special webinar about caregiving from afar. So that might be something of interest to you all. And then if you're interested in our center at all, this is our website. It's just UIHC, stands for University of Iowa Healthcare, uihc.org/movement disorders. And here you can get information about how to contact us if you're interested in an appointment, as well as members of our care team. These are our physicians, our nurse practitioner, and our genetic counselor listed there. So that's just some good information to have. And then one thing I want to make you aware of, Karen, can you see the screen I've switched to here with Living with Parkinson's on the menu? Yes, okay. So coming up, our next event is every year we do a moving day walk. This year, unfortunately, we weren't able to do that in person, so we're doing a virtual version. It's going to be December 4th. There'll be a section that is on education, and then people can on their own do that walk. So I kind of tried to, let's see here. I kind of tried to squeeze that all in kind of a short little bit there. So hopefully I have piqued your interest if Parkinson's is something that you have in your life. But otherwise, if you have any questions, if you're interested in our events, if you have Parkinson's or you're caring for someone with Parkinson's and you just want someone to talk to about planning or resources or, you know, just how it's going, please feel free to reach out, email me, give me a call, anything like that. And I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Cara, thank you very much. And I think as far as your email, everybody got into the webinar or found us on Facebook through the Heritage Agency on Aging. And all of your information will be available on the website. So if people want to get directly in contact with you, your information will be available on the Heritage website.
Great.
Or they can also give a call to Heritage and say, hey, how do I get a hold of that Parkinson's person? And we'll make sure that we get that going. Lori, we did have a question come up about home instead, and I'm going to go ahead and ask, I'll let you answer this. They said, wanting to know more about if Home Instead is a Christian-based organization. And, I know kind of how our values are set, and I thought if you want to go ahead and unmute your screen and share kind of where that comes from on a national as well.
We we don't actually put it out there. It's mainly for in-house use. We do have 4 core values that we started right away when we first started Home Instead Senior Care. And our #1 core value is to honor God in all we do and treat each other with dignity and respect, encourage growth in ourselves and other, and build value in our service to others. These are our guiding principles. And yes, I am Christian, and we do attract a lot of other Christians to our organization, but we have people of all different faiths that are involved in Home Instead Senior Care. And so I'm excited that we are able to talk about it at Home Instead and to even pray as well. And I thank you so much for that question. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I knew you'd answer that the best. So with that, I just want to say that tomorrow is Veterans Day, and my husband being a veteran, my son being in the Army right now, I'm so proud of him. I just want to give a shout out to all veterans out there. It is such an honor to care for veterans, to walk beside veterans. I'm so proud of our veterans. And tomorrow shouldn't be the only day we honor them. I honor them year round. However, tomorrow is different this year for our Veterans Day. We don't get to have the big celebrations for them like we have in years past because of COVID. But know that my heart is still in the celebration for all veterans, and I honor you daily. Our next webinar will be December 8th, which is also a Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Our keynote speaker will be Dr. James Coyle, talking about caregiver fatigue and self-care. And then I will be speaking on the ins and outs of home care and sharing information about different services that you can have come into the home and help you while you're still at home. So I want to thank both Lori Hogan and Cara Iyengar. I'm just so proud I can say that name. I wanted to thank both of you for sharing your time with us and giving of yourself today to share your information with our community and the people that are out there being that family caregiver for their loved one, because it is a stressful time anyway with 2020, with everything we've been faced with. But being a family caregiver, there's a lot going on with that. And for you to give of your time to share your words of wisdom is just a blessing for all of us. So thank you very much for spending some time with us today. Thank you for all of you who have listened in, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody, and be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Cara.
Thanks.